Hey everyone, on this Testimony Tuesday, we have a very powerful one given to us by a captain in the Air Force, and he's going to tell us what it was like growing up without a father in his home. Also, his struggles with finding his true identity, and finally, how a motivational speaker led him back to his Christian faith. So, you're not going to want to miss this testimony right here on The Cutting Edge TV. Stay tuned.
The Cutting Edge.
Hey everyone, Mario Navarro Jr. here, and at The Cutting Edge, our mission is to inspire you to study, understand, and apply God's Word into your life. On this channel, we cover practical Bible topics, have powerful testimonies, and we seek to answer your questions that you may have about the Bible. So if you're new to this channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Follow us also on Instagram as well as Facebook. And if you have any Bible questions, any comments, or any feedback, please make sure you put it in the comment section below. Well, let's get on with our testimony. All right, everyone, I got a very special guest with me today. Finally, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm going to let him introduce himself and then also give us a little bit of background about yourself and tell us where you were born and raised.
Okay, what's going on? How y'all doing? Mario, thank you so much for having me on your show. As you can see in my little name there, my name is Rico Lane. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm living out in Los Angeles, California, at least until the end of the month. Then I'll be in Texas. But I'm a captain in the United States Air Force. Been in about 17 years. The math may not add up, but I was prior enlisted. And from there, like I said, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, served in the military my entire life. I held I don't know, like 5 different jobs in the Air Force. I started off as a cop in the Air Force, so security forces. Did that for about 5.5 years. Then I cross-trained over or I changed my job to contracting, which is a buyer for the Air Force. Got my degree while I was there. Got picked up for officer training school, and now I'm a program manager. I managed my first tour. I was a program manager on the C-17 aircraft. And then I took a little special duty tour as an instructor at the University of Georgia. And then now I'm back at LA doing program management on the space program. And so that's what I kind of do for a living. But far as my ministry go, I have a ministry called Blessedtimony where I just simply help people understand the Bible by having them share their testimony. And that's all about me.
Amen, man. Again, I want to thank you for joining the show. In fact, me and Rico, we met on a 30-day challenge that we're doing on Facebook, where we were challenged to go live every single day in April. And we made it, man. I'm going to give you your props, man. You made it. We made it. So it was a good thing, man. So tell us a little bit about, so growing up in Atlanta, right? Atlanta, Georgia. How was that growing up for you over there?
Really, it had its ups and downs, roller coasters. It was cool, but I was the oldest. I'm the oldest, and like I used to go to my big granny's house. My mom had to work a lot, and so she was a single mom. So I would go to school at my big granny house, like in the city of Atlanta, and we wasn't like poor or nothing, but we wasn't rich either. And so because of that, we've been around like all kind of different people or whatever. And I remember being like a little kid. I used to kind of get picked on or whatever until my brother's dad actually kind of taught me how to box and stuff. And then I stopped getting picked on from that point. But but Atlanta, it was again ups and downs. Just like any other city. You got your wealthy people, your poor people, you got your middle class people. That's kind of where we were at. And it just kind of seems like, in my opinion, it's worse for the middle class because the rich get the tax breaks, the poor get help from the government, and the middle class just struggle it out. And so I think that's kind of a best description of what it was like for me growing up. Yeah.
Okay. So now you mentioned that you were the oldest in your family. How many siblings do you have?
Yeah, so on my mom's side, on my mom's side, I have a brother and a sister, Sean and Nikos. My sister is the middle, and Nikos is the youngest. My mom had him when I was like 10 or 11, and so we basically helped raise him. Now on my dad's side, and I didn't know this until after I was an adult, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I have another brother on my dad's side that I only met once actually at my dad's sister's wedding. And that was the first time I met any of them. And so I do have another brother, but I don't really know him.
Okay, all right. Now, speaking of your father, man, I know that in the notes that you gave and we talked about, did you grow up with your father? What was that situation like?
Man, it's like a Lifetime movie, so
Mm,
I'll share the short version of it because
okay.
it's really my mom's testimony, not well, I guess it's mine too, but so long story short, my dad, he ended up dying in prison. He was in
Man.
prison for murder. He was in prison, and I think he sold drugs as well. But when he was with my mom, they actually met by a wrong phone call. He called a house, it was the wrong number, and I guess he had the gift of gab or whatever. And they got to talking and they hooked up or whatever. Well, long story short, he's a little psycho too. So he like kidnapped her away from her mom.
Wow.
I guess at that point you can get married at that age. I don't know the situation, but something he told her he'll kill her if she didn't marry her. He would keep her like tied up in the closets, kick her downstairs, beat her. And so she finally got away from him, but he still had me. And so he was threatening to kill me if she didn't come back and that kind of stuff. And one day his mom had me in the
Mercy.
grocery store, and my grandma, actually my great grandma, my grandma's mom, she saw me and they basically kidnapped me back because my mom tried to
Wow.
call the cops and they was like, it's his dad. So they basically said you're gonna have to steal him back if you want him. And so she kidnapped me back. My grandma got me back. I don't know how old I was. I was old enough to say like eat or something like that. So I was probably about one or so.
Okay.
And anyhow, long story short, she didn't want me to meet him after that. And so I grew up my whole life not knowing him, and I had male figures in my life, but they were like come and go. Like my mom would be with him, break up with him, that kind of stuff. So I kind of got to a point where I just didn't trust men, and I just basically looked out for myself. When I turned 18, my mom was gonna actually let me go and try to see my dad on my own and
Mm,
me because I had questions. I kind of wanted to know where I came
yeah.
from and that kind of stuff. And so at the time we were able to go and well, at the time my mom was gonna let me do it, we
Hmm.
found out that he had died I want to say like a year earlier. And
Wow.
so I had never got the chance to meet him. And so after that, fast forward, me and my
Mhm.
wife now, we were I think we were getting ready to move to North Carolina. We were moving from Arizona to North Carolina, and my wife is like a private detective. She like to spy on your stuff and look at all that kind of stuff. And so we just kind of talk about it. She's like, you don't want to meet him, and somehow, some way, she got online, found my dad's dad, who I still haven't even met to this day, and
Wow.
he was like, he ended up giving me my grandma number, my dad's mom number, and
Okay.
so I reached out to her, and that was like a whole weird thing too, because like
Mm.
I didn't want them thinking I wanted something from them,
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
see in the movies or whatever,
Yeah.
and so so that was kind of weird. I honestly didn't want to do it. My wife kind of forced me into it, and so I talked to my grandma, and then we were actually traveling back to the East Coast, or whatever. So we stopped in, met her. I met my aunt, I met my uncle, and I met my brother. But
Okay.
as far as that, that's the only. And I saw them a couple of times, but and they still kind of talk to me, here and there. But it's one of those things where it's like we don't really know each other, so I don't like
Yeah.
go out my way to see them.
So what was that interaction like though? It was was it good? Did you find some peace or relief that you at least got to meet that side of your family?
Yeah, yeah, it was cool. Yeah, there again, you always wonder like what is it like, and then
Yeah.
watch these crazy Disney movies like what if they're rich and they're princes, no, my favorite some straight Atlanta type people whatever, but it's cool because yeah, I kind of realized where I got certain things from, and kind of where I
Okay.
got my bill from, and I got my my mentality, my attitude from, and I got to hear their side, their version
Got
of
you.
my dad. And so my grandma, she's like a typical mom. She didn't want to talk bad about her son or say
Yeah,
nothing negative. But
for
my
sure.
aunt and uncle, they told me the truth. They was like, nah, he was a fool.
Okay, man. So tell us what was it like though? Were there struggles that you had growing up, not knowing who your real father was? Well, how did that influence you growing up?
Man, a lot of ways that I didn't realize till I got grown. So one thing about me, I love football. I love football, and my mom would use that to help me keep my grades right. And if you want to play football, you better do good in school and that kind of stuff. And so I always did good in school. But I remember like seeing kids practicing with their dads, and their dads coming to their games or their dads coaching, and I've just it was just eating me up alive. And I always felt like I could have been like a 10 times better football player
Mm.
had I had a dad, because I had to teach myself. Like, I had a pretty good football career, but everything I did in football, it was either I taught it myself or what I picked up from my coaches. And so that was a struggle for me. I think that's the biggest thing that I really wanted a dad for, because I saw the other players with their dads. But then also too, like I was the oldest, and so my mom was
Mm.
raising me up. My auntie, she's a scrapper, she's a fighter. So my aunt, she kind of taught me how to be rough a little bit, but again, it was still women. And so here I am going to school in Atlanta, being around people who like to fight all the time and pick on you all the time and do all this other kind of stuff. So I picked up my cues on what it's like to be a man from from my friends I hung around, from Martin Lawrence. I love Martin Lawrence. And so when it came to like women, and I would like be funny and be very comical and stuff, and I found that would win me over with the girls. And then when it came to like dudes and like bullies or whatever the case may be, I would look up to like rappers and stuff, and mainly like DMX. Like it was a time where you couldn't tell me I wasn't DMX. And so that's the man, like his mentality. That's basically the persona that I kind of took on. That like between him and Martin, I was like a perfect mixture. Like I laugh, joke, giggle, but then if somebody, like, I never was really like slick with the words. So if people say something slick with the words, I just immediately hop to just go to fighting. And so that's just that. But and I think it was because, again, like I didn't have a dad to kind of tell me what a man should be. So I looked
Yeah.
at people that I admired as well, men that I admired, and I just mimicked them.
Got you, man. So yeah, so Martin was a big influence in your life, man. One of my favorite comics back in the days, of course, the Martin Lawrence show, and then
Yeah.
DMX. So yeah, I mean that's pretty polar opposites. So you blended that together
Yeah.
into your persona then.
Yeah, man, because it was like, I remember like me and my friend Marilyn, we would be in the cafeteria and we would like reenact like different Martin shows or scenes. And I remember the one scene where he was trying to lose weight and Gina had like the food on the table. And so we would be in the lunchroom like mimicking that out and stuff. And so again, I found like women, if you could make them laugh and if you can protect them, they just fall in love with you. And so who better to make you laugh than Martin, and who could better protect you than DMX? And so that's just kind of where I was at.
Well, I mean, those were two big names, of course, growing up. In our time, in our era, right? So yeah, definitely Martin and DMX. So tell us, man, mixing those two together, and you really trying to find your identity, and I know you mentioned too, trying to finding identity in your success, right? So tell us a little bit more about that as you continue to grow and continue to search for who you were, your identity.
Yeah, so one, me not having a dad, I was a mama's boy, and so I always wanted to like make my mom proud. And so when I would get good grades at school, or when I would like make a tackle at football, they would, the announcers would be like, the tackle, Rico Lane. And then I look up in the stands, see my mom cheering, my auntie cheering, and that was like fuel to me to just do that more and more. And so then when I went to schools, I wanted to get the awards or whatever the case may be, just so I can get that same feeling from my mom. And so then once I was successful at both of those kind of things, they just translated over. I joined the Air Force. I graduated distinguished graduate from basic training. I graduated top of my class from the security forces thing, and it was just a matter of like set a goal, reach a goal, set a goal, reach a goal, and that's just kind of where I found my identity. And so I really just found my identity in like my accomplishments and
Mhm.
things that I would do, like that. And so that's that's when I joined the Air Force and I had that track record, and my career was like, I mean, I had a phenomenal career. Like honestly, like most people maybe have one, maybe two different jobs. Like I said, I'm about to get ready to take my fifth different job in the Air Force. And so I just had a phenomenal career. And so at that point in my life, the Air Force was kind of like like my dad and my God, if you're going to, if I'm being completely honest,
Mm,
because they taught me how to be a man, made it to where I can take care of myself, and I was good at it. Even the stuff that sucked, like when I was in Iraq, I was under an army unit my first time in Iraq. I got an army commendation medal. So not only was I excelling
wow.
in the Air Force side of it, I was excelling on the army side and like
Yeah.
other branches. And so and then when I got picked up to be an officer, you really couldn't tell me nothing. Like at this point, like I'm a man now, right? Like I
Mm.
remember when I first became a first lieutenant, a second lieutenant. I remember shopping for a car, and my mom was like, I had bought a house, and I was shopping for a car, and I was only there for like 2 months or something crazy. And my mom was like, "Boy, you better slow down. You doing too much. You don't even know what your bills are gonna be like." I'm like, "Mama, I deserve this. I bust my butt. I've earned it. What I look like being an officer in a raggedy car. I deserve this nice car." Like, and that was like the mentality that I had. Yep.
Mm.
Yep. So
So man, so yeah, so man, something I picked up. So you said that pretty much the military was your God. That's
yeah,
deep. That's deep. Now, being in the military, in fact, let me ask you this. So I know, was it straight out of high school that you went into the military? Did you do junior ROTC in high school or anything? And when did you finally in your mind wanted to go? Was it at a young age, or how did that come about?
man, that's crazy because like I'm telling you, so man, my story is like weird. Like one, like again, I was like a mixture of Martin and DMX. So like I I was like every year, I think except for 1 year, I was on the homecoming court, and most years I won. I think my senior year, I ended up being like homecoming prince. So I was cool with like the nerds.
Mm,
I was cool with the nerds because I made good grades. I was cool with the athletes because I played ball. And
yeah,
then in my neighborhood, we had this clique called T Row Boys. So I was cool with the people who know good too. So I was just popular. I just knew everybody, right?
yeah.
And if you knew me back then, you'd be like, "There's no way that this guy's joining the Air Force."
Uh-huh.
One and like so, like one day you may see me with like some straight thugs, another day you may see me hanging out with some straight nerds, right? And it was just weird like that. So it was like, people kind of always knew that I was gonna do something well, because I just did good in school or whatever, and I was just kind of successful at what I do, but never the military. I didn't even think twice about the military. In my mind, I'm going to college and playing football. Well, I also was a ladies' man, and I actually was gonna join the army at first. I playing football. I ended up getting my girlfriend at the time pregnant.
Mm,
And she was we were seniors, and so we were seniors in high school, and I ended up getting her pregnant, and her mom found out, and her mom made her get an abortion without my approval. And so that was a tough thing. That's something I still kind of struggle with to this day. But anyhow, so she made her do that. But when she got pregnant, I was like, okay, cool. I need to take care of my kids. So I was gonna join the army. Well, then when they got the abortion, I was like, well, I'm not joining the army. And I had a tattoo on my neck that I had to go through surgery to get removed. So I was going through the process of getting that removed. And had it not been for the tattoo on my neck, I probably would have been in the army. Well, after that whole thing fell through, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to college. Well, I met my first wife when I was like fresh out of high school, like fresh out of high school. And when I turned 19, she got pregnant. And so we were like, okay, well, I don't want to be like my dad. I want to be in my kid life. I want to be able to take care of my kid. And her cousin had actually joined the Air Force like a year before that. And so she was telling me about how they got him a house, they paying for the baby to be born, this and that, that, and this. And in this mind, I had already went through the process of trying to join the military. And I was like, listen, I'm not going through another one of those laser surgeries. So
mm.
I'm gonna go talk to the recruiter, and if they let me in with the way my tattoo is, then I'll join. And so they had me try on the uniform, and I joined. So long, that's a very long way to say I joined the Air Force mainly because I had a kid and I need to take care of my kid. And so
Got
that's
you. But yeah, man, so that is why and that's how you joined the Air Force. That's where
yeah.
that's what got you today. Now I want to quote you because in that article that I read, man, it was powerful. But here's one quote that you said. You said a person's family unit, whether we have parents or not. often has the strongest influence over us in terms of identity. Elaborate on that a little bit, man. Tell us a little bit more about what you meant by saying that.
Yeah, it's really just kind of like that environment thing. Like, the Bible tell you
Yeah.
train a child up in the way they should go. When they're older, they won't depart. I'm paraphrasing here, but you can also train a child up in the wrong way.
That's
You
true.
can also train a child up in the way they shouldn't go.
Yep.
And a lot of times, matter of fact, I had a guy on my show, and we was asking him because he's a youth minister in the inner city of Chicago, and we was like, "Man, what is that like? And how do you reach them with the gospel?" And he was like, "More is caught than taught." He was like,
Yep.
"They catch more of what I'm doing than what I'm actually teaching them." And so it's the same thing with
That's
your
right.
parents, the same thing with your environment. Even we talk about generational curses. I believe, if you cover by the blood of Jesus, you're not gonna, deal with generational curses. But in a practical way of generational curses happening is if my dad is a racist and I grow up and seeing him and learn from him and being around him, then now that same issue and that spirit comes down on me. And so, again, your parental unit, even if you don't have that, it molds and shapes who you are and how you view the world, and more importantly, how you view God. Like, for a long time, I cannot believe that God was a caring father, because this is how I would break it down. I would say, okay, so my dad, never met him, never seen him. So imagine him leaving this book of instructions with my mom, telling me all the stuff I need to do. And if I
Mm,
follow this stuff, then I'll be with my dad one day. But he's never in my life. I never see him. I don't hear from him. And then, if I make matters worse, if I don't follow it, then I'm gonna end up in hell. And this was the view I had of God. I'm like, he's just
wow.
like another dad who ain't there. He's
Wow.
like another dad with all these rules and stipulations that I can't follow, and he's not there. And I would hear people say, God loves me, and God, he's my father, and
Mm,
he provides my needs, and God told me this, and God said that. And I'm like, God ain't told me nothing. Like,
mm.
why don't he talk to me? If he loved me, why don't he talk to me? And so that was the mentality I had. And a lot of that stemmed from my relationship with my dad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yep.
powerful, man. That's why it's so important for fathers to step it up. I'm glad that that you're stepping it up, being a dad, and I know that there are other men out there who are really, like you said, those generational curses. They're really trying to break that cycle, right? Break that chain. Because yeah, we
Yeah.
can, if we allow it to help, allow it to for us to fall into that trap of those
Yeah.
generational curses. But with God, He can break that chain, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely, man, that's powerful. But yeah, the family unit, whether the father is there or not, but that's why the devil is really, I believe, trying his hardest to take earthly fathers out of the equation,
Oh yeah.
because he knows the influence on how it makes our heavenly Father look, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's some powerful stuff. Um, and then let me see here, because I know you were talking about, making those accomplishments military, those successes, right? How you said that actually became your God. But
Yeah.
then um, you heard a motivational speaker
Yeah.
that kind of influenced you and helped you out along the way. Tell us a little bit more about that, man.
Yeah, so I guess God knew how to get me, because so kind of rewinding back a little bit before that point, I grew up in the church. My grandma would take me to church. I went to Christian camp. I knew about Christ. I said the salvation prayer when I was a kid. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I didn't want to go to hell. So I said the salvation prayer. And so I had a Christian foundation.
Mhm.
Well, I joined them. I get to start sinning, doing stuff that I don't have any business doing, going through life. And then on top of that, I get deployed to Iraq, which is a Muslim country. And again, I'm looking at the dads there. And so the media have you thinking like all of them are terrorists, but they're not. And, there's two different, divisions of Muslims out there. And so in southern Iraq, we were where Saddam had exiled a lot of the people who were basically against him. And so
Mhm.
we would see I would see fathers out having picnics with their kids, playing soccer with their kids, praying multiple times a day over their loudspeakers. They would have the music playing, um, or not the music, but the prayers praying, and it was their way of life. And then I'm looking at my examples of Christians back in the States, and they're like nowhere near that devoted. And so in my mind, I'm like, there's no way God is gonna send all these people to hell just because they don't believe in Jesus. So I got to a point where I just kind of just stopped really believing in God. And I wasn't following them or whatever. And then it got to then my mom got saved. So my mom, she had me at 16 and she wasn't saved at first, but then she got saved. And you know how like, when we get newly saved, we want to save our entire family. And so I got to a point like I didn't want to hear it no more. Like God don't, God's gonna have to talk to me himself before I believe it or whatever kind of mentality. So at this point in my life, I'm like, not if you talk to me about God, I may be respectful, but it's going in one ear and out the other. And so I started listening to this guy named Eric Thomas, motivational speaker, man. I still listen to him to this day. Matter of fact, I listen to him today. But anyhow, I'm listening to his stuff. And at the time, his motivational stuff, he don't really talk, like sometimes talk about God, but for the most part, you wouldn't know, unless you like really study him. By watching some of his videos, you probably wouldn't know he's also a preacher. I think now a lot of that stuff, especially with COVID, he does a lot more preaching and stuff at his church. And since I'm subscribed to him, I see his teaching stuff. But when I first seen him, I had no clue he was a preacher. His nickname was the hip hop preacher. But again, I wasn't really connecting the two or whatever because his content wasn't like that. And so I always lift weights, always exercise, but my gut, man, like in the military, you got to have a small waist to get full points. Man. And so like, no matter what I did, I would have like a 35, 36-inch waist. Like, and so I'm listening to Eric Thomas and he was like, you're the reason why you're not reaching your goals. You're the reason why you're not successful. He's like, if you're only giving 70%, because he asked this group of people, like, be honest, are you giving 70? Who think they're giving 100% when it comes to whatever your goals is? None of them raised their hand. Who's giving 90? Maybe one or two. Who's giving 80? And who's giving? And so he's like, you just said yourself, you're only giving 70%. And so if you're not giving 100%, then you can't expect to reach your goals. And so he was like, he's like, I dare you to just the next month, this next whatever, you just give 110%. You go at it every day. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the challenge. And so sure enough, man, I was going extra hard, 110 at my fitness diet. Man, I dropped like 30 pounds in 2 months, man. It was crazy. Wow. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Eric Thomas kind of know what he's talking about. So I started listening to more of his stuff. And then every now and then he'll say something like, and the word said this, and the word said that. And I was like, man, I started Googling him, find out he's a preacher or whatever. And then so I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I gave the fitness stuff a chance. Let me give the Bible the same chance, because my view of the Bible was always what somebody else told me and what somebody else said. So I started reading it for myself, and I started realizing that some of the stuff I was taught was, either I was hearing it wrong or I was taught out of context. But when I started reading it for myself, man, and started seeking God for myself, it started making sense. And what happened was I realized that the stuff that was written in this Bible so many years ago by so many different authors, it was happening in my life. Like it was like these same stories. I had similar stories and stuff. And so it was crazy. And so, so from there, I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to believe more. And then at the same time, because I'm listening to Eric Thomas, I'm in this 100% reach your goals mode. And I had this idea for an app that I was trying to put out. Actually, I put the app out, but I don't really market it because it needs some work. But I was working on this app or whatever, and in the midst of working on this app, God just kept giving me this thing in my spirit of like, and again, mind you, like I'm still like not 100% sure I'm even following God. I'm just reading up on him and learning that kind of stuff. And but I got this idea for this thing called for my ministry that I have now called Blessedtimony.
I like it.
And so with Blessedtimony, it's a play on two words, blessings and testimonies. And the whole thing was my granddad, he would send out, the Bible app, he would send out the daily verses from the Bible apps to a group of us every day. And so again, I'm kind of like borderline Christian, kind of skeptical, whatever. He sends out this particular verse. I'm not having such a good day. Everybody the verse was like hard to understand. I can't even remember what verse it was to save my life now, but for me, it was hard for me to understand. But everybody on the thread was like, praise God, thank you, granddad, amen, and this and that. And so me being, the jerk that I am, I'm like, can one of y'all even tell me how this verse even happened in your life? Like, do you even know what this verse means? And
Uh,
so I was like, you know, I had to even, because it was something where it was like encouraging Christians. So I like, have this even happened in any of y'all life? And so surprisingly, my brother and I believe my mom, either my brother, my mom, or my brother, my granddad actually had a reply for me. And I was like, okay. So I kind of had to eat crow a little bit there. And so after that incident, I just kept having this thing where, like, in school they tell you, there's no dumb questions. If you got a question, ask it, because somebody else may be thinking it. And so that's where originally what Blessedtimony came from. It was like me asking out loud. I was like, you know what? What if I felt that way in that interaction, and the Bible's hard for me to understand, there's probably other people who having these same struggles.
mhm,
And so I was like, I want to create a platform to where people who if they can be a straight out atheist, they can hate God, they can, whatever the case may be. But if they got questions and they want to know, then we can have like pastors like yourself kind of be there to help answer those questions and mentor them and help them along. Because like when you're in church, and I got a teaching background for those who don't know. And so in church, it's taught in a traditional brick and mortar school type of setting where the pastor goes up there, he preaches, and you
mhm,
shut up and listen,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
But you can't ask questions back and forth like, hey, pastor, listen, I know you're in the middle of your sermon, but can you go back to that last verse? What exactly did that mean? Like, you can't do that, right? And then by the time you get to Bible study, y'all may be talking about something completely different, or you may forgot what your question was. And then some pastors got a huge flock, so they can't take the time to. And so I was like, I want a platform to where if we can get a bunch of like dedicated Christians, and then you got a bunch of people who like don't know, in a social media type of setting, we can answer these questions back and forth and have these conversations. And then the pastors, they can also see, who in their congregation needs their attention and their time. And so I came up with the Blessedtimony app. And so, but it was all inspired by this interaction I had with Eric Thomas. It was like, okay, this is in the Bible, and that happened in my life. And then if I'm sharing that with somebody else, you're like, man, I didn't know that was in the Bible. That happened in my life too. And this happened. And then now when you start realizing that this Bible is living and breathing and it still applies to our lives today, I believe it'll spark your curiosity on wanting to read more. And then once you start reading more, the Holy Spirit will start transforming you. And so that's kind of where my transformation came.
I love it, man. That's some powerful, powerful stuff. You didn't even know that the Lord
Yeah,
was hitting you,
yeah, yeah,
but yeah, he was. He preached. But man, what you said too was powerful, because that's what happens though. Growing up, oftentimes we believe things that we hear, but until we
yeah,
study the Bible for ourselves, it doesn't really become real to us. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And like you said, a lot of stuff, that's what happened to me too, man. A lot of stuff that I understood, when I really started studying myself, I was like, yo, that's not even the context. That's not even in the Bible. That ain't even in
yeah,
the Bible. So
yeah,
praise the Lord,
yeah.
man, for that ministry that the Lord has put in your heart. Blessedtimony. And we're gonna talk about that too at the end, man, because I definitely want people to watch the show, to get on your YouTube and to watch that. Because I'm watching you got me hooked, man. You got me hooked with you and
Appreciate that.
the rest of the cast, man. It's good stuff. It's just good, it's good stuff. And I appreciate, stuff like that, man. So praise the Lord, man, by hearing the motivational speaker Eric Thomas. It really turned your life around and really brought you back to the Lord. Now, now you're back with the Lord. Now, were there any incidences that happened after
Yeah.
that situation?
Yeah, so God is good, man, because he let me kind of start to know him and have a relationship with him, and let my mindset start changing before this incident happened. But I think God had to kind of spank me on my butt. Like, if you belong to him, he's gonna discipline you, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like he had to kind of spank me on my butt to take that pride away a little bit, because I've always wanted money. I always wanted the girls and be famous and this and that. And as a captain in the Air Force, you can have a glimpse of that. You're not like an NBA star or nothing, but you can kind of get a glimpse of that, right? And so anyhow, you know, I'm coming to know Christ, but at the same time, I still got some of these prideful ways of thinking I'm the man and everything. And I landed this job at UGA, and I'm the deputy. I'm the ops commander, so which is 5 of us. So don't it's not even like it's a big deal. But I was like the second in command in this organization because
Mhm.
it's the commander and then it's the ops commander, and ops commander just handle all operations,
Okay.
and so that was my job. Um, in addition to teaching the cadets, whatever, we still had like our Air Force stuff we had to do. And so I was the ops guy. And so my commander was on leave or something, and an incident happened. I'm not gonna go into the incident, but an incident
Mhm.
happened, and me being the whole, I've been in the military at this time probably like 15 years, and I just handled it myself. I took care of it. I'll say the incident. One of the cadets missed flag duty, and so it wasn't nothing crazy. He missed an appointment, but he had a history of missing appointments,
Mhm.
and like earlier on in his ROTC career, because ROTC in college is like it's like a 4-year interview,
Mhm.
so it's like a 4-year program before you can go off and be an officer. So when you graduate from ROTC in college, you commission as an officer in the Air Force, and day one as an officer in the Air Force, you outrank anybody who's enlisted. So it's a
Mhm.
big deal, right? And so he earlier in his 4-year career, ROTC career, he was missing appointments, and so he had a record where he was disciplined and counseled for that. Well, his senior year, he's about to get ready to graduate and commission, and in the fall semester, he missed 2 appointments, and so he was in trouble.
Mhm.
He got counseled for that or whatever.
Mhm.
This all happened like August, right? After this, he was doing good. He was like one of our top performers, wasn't getting in trouble. And then the second semester came, and for whatever reason, okay, so he missed flag duty. I'll try to make it quick. He missed flag duty, and I told him, I was like, listen, dude, I basically had a come to Jesus mentoring session with him. I was like, listen, you're really about to ruin an opportunity in the Air Force over a stupid appointment, a stupid like raising a flag up. Like, you need to get together. You're gonna have flag duty the rest of the week to show me you can make your stuff. And and then I kind of chewed out the flight commander, the person who was over him, and I told him to make sure nobody else is missing it or whatever. Done.
Mhm.
Well, fast forward a couple of months, and again, mind you, I was well within my rights to do this.
Mhm.
I had the authority to do this, what I did. And so a couple months passed by, another cadet missed flat duty. The commander wasn't there. I'm there early, so I'm always the one who catching them when they miss it. And at this point, I'm frustrated because we've already had this repeated issue. So instead of me handling it there, I handled it, but at the same time, I included the commander. And so the commander got involved. And so me and the commander are back talking about what punishment we're going to give to the guy. And I told him, I was like, hey, this is, he still got another year. We should do X, Y, and Z. This is kind of something similar to what I did to the other cadet. And then as soon as I said that, the attention went off of the cadets and went on me. And he was like, wait, you did what? And you said what?
Ah.
And so he was like, he was upset that I did it and didn't include him and tell him. So then in his mind, he had this thought process of, I'm trying to cause 2 chain of commands. And now,
Mhm.
mind you, he was the type of boss. He had a lot of kids. So he was the type of boss where, like, at the end of the day, he want to go home.
Yeah.
Me, I enjoyed teaching. So I was there to cadets a lot. And so they kind of took a liking to me. And so in my opinion, which, again, this is just all 2 sides to one story, but in my opinion, I think there was some kind of like he wanted to show me he's the boss and I'm not the boss kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Now, if you know anything about ROTC, the cadets are set up like a wing. So they have a command structure too. So the cadet wing commander, he can also give paperwork and do stuff to the other cadets. And so when we got into it, I'm like, listen, you're mad because I didn't say anything, but you're telling me that these cadets have more power than I do as a captain in the Air Force? Like they can write people up and don't say nothing, because there was plenty of times where they would handle it at their level and it
Mm.
don't make it to our level. And
Mhm.
so long story short, he took it. And I mind you, I had a flawless career at this point. And as an officer, if you get paperwork, it can stop you from promoting.
Mm.
And so I had just done, I was doing stuff at the ROTC wide level. Like I was going up to the main ROTC commander and helping rewrite the curriculums, doing like, so I was about to have a flawless OPR. This happened 2 days before my annual report was to
Oh,
get
wow.
signed by the top. He pulls back my annual report, rewrites it,
Oh.
uh fired me from the ops position thing. Now, mind you, now he gave me what's called a I believe. Yeah, he gave me no LOC, letter of counseling. If I got an LOR, it stays in my record and it can harm me for promotion. A LOC is just between you and the commander, and as long as you don't have any other issues, it doesn't follow you. So he gave me one of those. And honestly, at first I was just gonna sign it and say, whatever, cool, it doesn't even matter. But what happened was he didn't put the other stuff he did to me in the LOC. So he was taking other action on it, and it was almost like he was kind of hiding it from his bosses. And so I talked to a couple of my mentors, talked to my old commanders, and I even got legal involved. It was like a whole big deal, man. Like, because at this point, I'm like, man, I've served, I've been deployed 3 times for my country. I did nothing wrong in my opinion, other than I just didn't inform him. And he knows I'm the kind of airman to where had he say don't do that again, I would have never done it again. So like I'm thinking he's like going overkill, and I had like another year under him. And so I was like, there's no way, if he's tripping about this, there's no way I'm gonna make it another year without something else coming up. And so all my mentors was like, you need to file a complaint or whatever, the whole nine. And so like me and him, we was just butting heads. And so finally I was like, listen, I gave him the courtesy to tell him, listen, I'm gonna report this. I'm gonna go, because he kind of tried to scare me too a little bit. He was like, well, you can take it and not have an attitude and we can move on. Or if you try to fight it, then basically there's gonna be repercussions. So I told him, I was like, well, I'm gonna fight it. And so I after that, like the whole situation kind of changed. And again, what he was mad, I was mad. And at this point, like, I honestly believe, like, I was kind of freaking out, losing sleep over it. Like, man, I only got like 3 or 4 more years left in the military. I want to retire. I can't believe like this one guy could just potentially ruin my whole career. And that's when God showed me, it was like, listen, the Air Force is not taking care of you. The Air Force is not gave you these talents. It's me who gave you these talents, and I can take these talents away just like that. It can just be gone like that. I had all my. This is really when I got serious with my ministries and all that kind of stuff too, because I had all my eggs in my military basket, if you will, at this point. And so from there, man, it just kind of sparked this motivation in me to, like, if behind me you can see my book. I ended up writing a book. I end up, starting my app and my ministries, the whole nine. But God showed me, he was like, all this comes from me, and you're depending too much on your military career. You're depending too much, basically it was like my God, and so I kind of got that revelation before we resolved the issue. And so I was praying on it and fasting and figuring out how I'm going to handle it. And then, so, finally, when me and him had the opportunity to talk, I could tell he was just really hurt that I didn't include him in it, right? Gotcha. And so in my mind, it was kind of a misunderstanding. And so I had to eat crow. I had to, I had to humble myself and take a lower position in the job. Which, in reality, I don't even think I really got fired, because when you're there at RTC, it's 3 years and you're supposed to rotate each year. And I honestly believe he was about to rotate me anyway. And but he used that as like a teaching thing to try to scare me a little bit. And so he made it seem like I was getting demoted, but when in reality it was my final year there, and he was me anyway. Because when I finally talked to his boss, that is how he kicked it to his boss. And so the boss didn't even know until I brought it up. The situation. And so anyhow, long story short, that following year I ended up getting like his top teacher, instructor. And he even told me, he's like, I'll be honest, Rico, I don't know if I would have handled it the way you handled it. You still helped out with it. Because like I basically ran this whole debt. You got to understand, it was only 5 of us. The captain who took my place was brand spanking new. And so I had to, I got fired, but I was still doing the job. Like I was still doing the stuff I had to teach her, right? And so we had just had an inspection, and we lost our 2 enlisted members. One of them got deployed and another one moved. And so I was doing the job of like 3 people. And one, I was coming in on my leave time. I was coming in on weekends. And so after that, all that stopped, man. And so like I was like, I'm gonna help them still succeed. I'm gonna do my job and not get fired. But that taught me too. I was like, I'm taking away from my family for these people who was ready to throw me to the side for a decision that I made to help. Like I showed this other cadet grace. That
Yeah.
changed that decision I made for him changed the trajectory of this man's career. And even and now the cadets knew and they felt bad. Because even he felt bad because he felt like he got me in trouble or whatever the case may be. But in reality, at the time, like, no, this is not on you. That as a leader, that's the things we do. If I make a decision for my troops and I got to deal with it for my boss, that's what a leader is supposed to do. And so I was willing to eat that if that's what the case, because I knew in my heart I didn't do nothing wrong. I knew I wasn't showing this guy favoritism. I would have, I basically gave him some harsh NCO type of loving. Like, you better get your act together or next time you're going to be out. And so bottom line, we end up reconciling, and I was able to share the gospel with him. He's not really saved that I know of. I don't think he goes to church or anything like that, but I was speaking for this group. They invited me out to come speak to them, and I was talking about like the similarities of Christ and leadership or something like that. And so I invited my commander to come. I played it like, hey, can you kind of give me some mentor tips and help me out? And so it was like a sly, slick way for me to share the gospel with him. And so yeah, long story short, we reconcile, but I think that whole event was not even between me and him. I think that was a lesson from God that showed me that, hey, you're dependent on this too much. You need to start depending on me. And again, all the stuff that I thought was going to happen, none of that happened. We end up being better afterwards. So yeah, it was a crazy thing. But as an officer, man, yeah, something like that could prevent you from promoting. And if you don't promote, then they put you out.
Wow. Well, amen, though, man. Praise the Lord that He worked out that situation and that you were able to at least plant the seed, right? At least plant the seed in the mind of your commander, man. But that's powerful, man. Your story is powerful. And you said you wrote a book, man. I seen you throw it in there. What's your book called, man?
Oh,
What's
man,
it about? Yeah.
It's called Blessedtimony.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep. So yeah. So again, man, I got like a little small book study guide to go with it too.
Nice.
But basically, let me dust it off. It's been sitting back there for a minute. Let me see if y'all can see it. Yeah, there it is. Blessedtimony. And so basically, man, what I do in here, I tell my life story, but each chapter is a Bible verse. And in that Bible verse, I explain what the Bible verse means, and then I share my testimony on that verse and how it happened in my life. Wow. So it starts off from let's see, I'll just share the first one with you. If I can find it real quick. Hold on. I'm sorry. All right. So Proverbs 22, train a child up in the way they should go, and when he's old, he will not depart. So I start off talking about how my grandma introduced me to the word and my life as a child. Then it goes into me having my own first child. So I got some scriptures on that. It goes into me being in Iraq and kind of how I lost my faith. Then it goes into how I came. So basically the same story that I just told you, but backed up by Bible scriptures. And so then I wrote a small group study guide to go with it. So as people read it, they can see how those scriptures has manifested in their lives. Again, my whole objective is for people to see that this Bible happens in our lives. And like, there's no way that these old people back in the day can understand stuff that we're dealing with going with now if it wasn't divine by God.
Amen, man, that's powerful, man. In fact, man, as we bring this to a close, okay, yeah, let the people know what you're doing right now. What are your plans for the future? Tell the people where they can find you, social media, and all that good stuff. And we're gonna make sure we put all those links in the description too, man.
Yeah. So I'll start off by giving you a caveat. I am not a social media guy, which is crazy because I got a Christian social media app. But on basically any social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you search Blessedtimony, Blessedtimony, you will find my ministry. So the biggest thing that I'm most active on is YouTube. And so on YouTube, again, just search Blessedtimony and you'll find it. But also I want to encourage people to really download the Blessedtimony app. To be honest, God put it on. I think it's one of those things where it's like God just calling me to keep shepherding on it. I'm dropping my own money in. I'm paying for the whole, any extra money I get from my military career, I pay for it. So I can give it free to people. But I feel like eventually we're going to get to a point where Christians are not, we're going to be censored. We're not going to be able to freely talk about the gospel on social media. And Blessedtimony is a social media app. So, and that plus more, we got a bunch of few things on there, but you can get on there and post your pictures and testimonies and scriptures and everything, just like you can on Facebook. And so the more people who get on there and know about it, and it's free, you can feel free to share the gospel. And if you have your own ministries, I don't have any issues with you posting your sermons, posting what you have to use like your YouTube links, because I can't afford to pay for my own video stuff right now, but God willing, that'll come. But yeah, like if anything, if you really want to support and connect with me, just download the app free and just get on there and post like you're posting any other time. I think that'll be the biggest thing. Matter of fact, the purpose of me writing my book was so I don't have to ask for donations. People can just buy the book, and any money I get from the book will go to help keep the ministry alive. But most of the time, if you ask me, I just give my book out as well. So again, my whole point is just to help people realize that the Bible is real, activating our lives daily. And also too, I really want I want people to feel safe to be able to say, you know what, I don't know if I really believe that, or I agree with that. I want, and so can you help me? Can you explain it to me? And so that's something that God is really like. I spend a lot of my time trying to focus on talking to people who don't believe the way that I believe with grace, because honestly, it's going to be our love that's going to help show who we belong to, show who we're a disciple of. So
Amen. Amen. I believe that, man. You guys heard the man. Go ahead and download that app. It's free. Where can they get your book, man? I know that those books will help contribute to that.
yeah, it's on Amazon. If you go on
Amazon.
Amazon, search Blessedtimony. It's free. If you can't afford it, get on Blessedtimony and send me an email. I'll send you a PDF version for free. Yeah, it's again, the whole point is for you to be blessed by and realize that the Bible activates in your life. So if you can't afford it straight up and you want a copy, just hit me up. As a matter of fact, Gmail, my email, blessedtimony@gmail. So everything's Blessedtimony. I made it simple.
Amen. So Blessedtimony everything, all right?
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, IG, email, do all
Twitter.
that
Yep.
stuff. And again, I'm going to leave all those links in the description. Now, before you go, man, just have two more things, all right? The first thing
Yeah.
is, what is your favorite scripture and what does it mean to you?
Man, so I do this thing. My birthday is March 23rd, 323. And so I do this thing where I just like to just pick up Bible chapters and see what 323 says. And my absolute favorite, it kind of goes back to my mentality, is Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, do it heartily as if you're doing it unto the Lord.
Nice.
So basically give 110%, go harder all you do. And if you can tell from the Eric Thomas motivating me, and you can tell by my goal-driven mentality, that's why that scripture is my favorite verse, 3:23. Now another one, Romans 3:23 said we all sin. That's like a second one. That's kind of
Amen.
that's kind of like it's not really negative, but it just reminds me that hey, we're all sinners and we
Yeah,
all need God. We all need God's grace. And
that's
honestly,
right.
it's a beautiful verse because it answers that question. Yes, even that person who you think is horrible, they can be saved. And a lot of times that person is ourselves. I
Come on
know for a
now.
long time that was me. Do I even deserve to be saved? And Romans 3:23 says we all are sinners. We
That's
all
right.
need God. So
Yeah.
so those verses, my birthday verses.
Nice. Two powerful verses there, man. Yeah, we do need that reminder, man, that we are sinners, and we need the grace of Jesus to save us. Amen. And finally, man, any final words of encouragement for those who are listening?
Yeah, man. If you are a Christian, I actually had the opportunity to preach this Sunday, and was my closing thoughts. If you are saved, be bold, be courageous, be willing to share your testimony, because your testimony can transform somebody's lives. Go out, share with the world what you know, because if we don't, these people's lives they're literally spiritually dead. And so if you're a non-believer and you're just if you're curious about Christ, one, man, reach out to my brother Mario, reach out to me, read the book, get on the YouTube channel. Google, I don't even care, but we live in a digital age with Google. Whatever questions you have about God, you can ask. And God says, if you seek him, you will find him. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're a non-believer, just seek God, man. Just keep talking. Like, for it took years for, like, God was there the whole time, but like it took years of me saying, God, why won't you talk to me? Why won't you show me love? Why won't you do? And I just kept seeking him. And then he transformed my life. So I encourage you to do the same.
Amen. Rico, I want to just thank you again for blessing us with your testimony. You blessedtimonied us, man. Thank you for sharing your testimony here, man. And I pray that the Lord will continue to bless you, your family, and your ministry, man. God bless you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
All right. Well, everyone, I hope that you were blessed by that testimony. Please check out my brother Rico's YouTube, Blessedtimony. Check out his book. And of course, just download that app. It's free, you guys. And it's helping others know more about Jesus Christ and his saving grace. So please do that. Again, for those who are watching, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, my name is Mario Navarro Jr., and here at The Cutting Edge, our mission is to inspire you to study, understand, and apply God's word into your life. Grace and peace.
The Cutting Edge.